We receive questions all the time here at the Association Partner about marketing, and we recently started compiling a list of some of the best questions that we receive. And it had us thinking, if we could sit down with a marketing expert and ask them some of those questions, what would they say? All right, briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, and then maybe one to two pieces of software that you use to build your business that you just couldn't imagine building your business without.
Hi, my name is Drew Brucker, VP of Growth at Lasso. We provide workforce management software for the live events industry, and that essentially means for event companies that produce or staff any event nationwide. So we unify all of the manual crew management tasks that take place and are widely being done on things like spreadsheets or just in a manual whiteboard fashion. And we put them into one easy platform that enables these companies to streamline their workflow across scheduling, communication, payroll, time tracking, travel, finding additional talent to help them. I would say that the one to two pieces of software that we couldn't build without on the marketing side would be number one, HubSpot. It's our single source of truth, and it allows us to cut out so many other tools that are natively built in to HubSpot that we'd elsewhere have to go elsewhere for otherwise. And number two, I would say just video tools in general. So things like video editing software, something like Descript, asynchronous communication, something like Loom or Vidyard. And I think Vidyard especially is very, very important for us because it allows us to stand up content faster using SMEs and layering in more of a humanized component to what we're doing so we can be more authentic and also really track anything that we're doing analytically in HubSpot. So those are the two that I would go with.
Hey there, I'm Pasha Irshad from Shape and Scale. We're a B2B consultancy that helps our SaaS and technology companies orchestrate growth through public relations, media, demand generation, and most importantly, marketing technology. I've been in the industry for 14 years, and it's been a dream of mine and my co-founder Suzanne Block to really bring a boutique touch to what we saw as an industry-wide problem. And that problem is really the disconnection between marketing, sales, when I say marketing, communication, and technology, right? You have kind of go-to-market teams doing separate things, and we were trying to bring that all together. The two pieces of software or technology that we can't live without at Shape and Scale is pretty easy. The first one's HubSpot. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm a HubSpot partner for 6 years, but we do believe that it is the best CRM platform out there. And that CRM platform is customer relationship management. And so we have that, and that orchestrates all of our contacts, our leads, our prospects. But then we also use the Marketing Hub, which allows us to easily go out to market with inbound campaigns, supported across social media, advertising, landing pages, and just general campaign taxonomy and reporting. And then obviously there's Sales Hub. And so Sales Hub is for the sales team. For my agency, it's really two people, but we help build out sales processes for larger organizations. And so you put it all into one, it's a very powerful tool. And for our company, it's really the lifeblood. The second one for me is ClickUp. It's project management software, and it's used to orchestrate, I'm using that word a lot today, but it does really help orchestrate client, internal processes, external processes, onboarding. I have standard operating procedures built out in there, and then templated project plans for really everything that we're working on. It keeps me, my team, my partners, and our clients on the same page. And it also allows us to have complete visibility, which is critical for a small business.
I'm Donnie Tuttle, and I'm a productivity coach. My company, Purpose Driven Executive, helps people to produce from purpose. So we actually connect processes to people's gifts to get more of their genius out in the world and help them to grow with more ease and joy. Some technologies that I absolutely love using. You got to have Canva because everything nowadays is visual. It's something that you can quickly create all kinds of stuff on. Trello. So if you work with a team, I have a small team, and we can see and manage projects together on Trello. I really am a big fan of something called Tolstoy. So Tolstoy is a video app that allows people to navigate and choose responses. I love using QR codes, so I use QR code generator for that. I think it's qrcodegenerator.com. And then finally, I love to send things, and so I'm always sending, uh, things either to get people's attention or to get my clients, keep those and keep them engaged. And so I love to use pirateship.com along with a Dymo label printer, and I just literally in 10 seconds I can have something ready to send. And so those would be the technologies that I would build my business around or with.
Hey, I'm Matt Paige, VP of Marketing and Strategy at Hatchworks. What is Hatchworks? We design and build thoughtful, purpose-built digital products that help you actually stand out in the market. Whether you're starting from back of the napkin or you're reimagining an entire solution, we help you get there through our U.S. and nearshore agile teams. A little bit about myself. I love to talk about feedback loops. They're the best way to figure out what to build. And in terms of the products I could not live without, Miro's number one. I think it's one of the coolest tools out there for collaboration in today's world of remote teams. Check out Miro if you're not using it. Good for internal collaboration with clients, all kinds of things. It's a great tool. Jira is probably the other one. When we're building software, we can't live without Jira. It's kind of our source of record when figuring out what we're going to build. How do we prioritize it?
All right, what are some tactics today that are being used in marketing that are either no longer as impactful or no longer relevant?
So something that's no longer relevant, it's more about what's not being done, and that's not repurposing your content. You create so much good content, and then it kind of just dies. It sits on the shelf. Figure out what's your pillar content, what's those main pieces you want to talk about, and repurpose it. Turn it into a blog post, turn it into video content, turn it into social posts. It all ties together. It creates a consistent theme, and you got to repeat yourself in the market. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. People got to hear your message several times for it to actually resonate and stand out. A great person that talks about repurposing content, Justin Simon over at Metadata. Check him out if you want to go deeper. But it's something that a lot of folks definitely didn't used to do. It's starting to pick up more now.
Some tactics being used in marketing today that are no longer relevant is just a matter of how much time do we have to talk through this, because I think tactically there are so many. Case studies, just calling them case studies in general is so stuffy and buttoned up. I think there's something more to the idea of them being a transformative story, right? And walking somebody through that process of where they were when they started and what were they when they came out the other side. Drawn out demos, anything that's 30 minutes plus in terms of a demo for a prospect or a potential customer is too long. It's too much time to give up. Gifting for lead generation. So this could be something on the marketing side I've seen quite a bit. Giving away $100 gift cards just to sit in on a demo. No. Fake personalization, which is a big pet peeve of mine. There's nothing worse than coming across as you're trying to be personal, but you're not. And you're trying to scale those things, which just can't be scaled. Thinking content is a blog. Unnecessary form fields. Gating of almost any kind of your content. Messaging with buzzwords. Pricing pages without pricing. Reliance on face value attribution when in reality there are just so many different ways to sort of slice and dice that. Trade shows without content in mind. Trade shows are just so expensive. So how can you maximize your return on sending all those people, and flying them out somewhere? So content is one way to do that. Thinking about things like interviewing customers on site, maybe doing something with a survey on site, doing a podcast interview on site, things like that. Relying on sales calls for marketing copy and insights. I think the conversations that prospects have with sales is different than conversations marketers have with customers. The guards aren't raised. You can actually ask very specific questions that give you ultimate insight that can unlock your copy in a way because you can get their thoughts exactly queued up based on the questions that you asked. And then lastly, just ebooks, white papers, insert boring name here for anything that serves as a lead gen purpose, and having your sales team call these people once they submit a form. Those days are done, gone, and over with, and it doesn't work. So hopefully those 20-ish ideas I just gave you will get your wheels turning.
So what are some of the tactics today that are being used that aren't relevant anymore? I think it's simple. There's a term that really, I think it's bandied around a lot, and that's lead generation. Lead generation tactics mean the easy marketing qualified lead, the content syndication, the gated form. And that's not to say that that doesn't work from time to time, but we're talking about a mindset shift that's going on in the industry. I think you've seen that led by people like Chris Walker at Refine Labs, and just generally a consensus against the old model, which is something I think that started in 2008 and just was propagated through technology. It was propagated through bad business practice, the wild, wild west of data. Today, customers want an Amazon-like experience. And so when we talk about creating or capturing demand, that is the way that I think really sets the table and the alignment culturally and philosophically to go forth. That's why I would say lead gen for me is something that is just an outdated tactic, and it's really an outdated way of talking about it.
I'm a big believer in do whatever you can with what you've got to get to where you're going. And so I think almost everything works, but the problem is I think the things that we can't commit to, that's what don't work. I know people who create great appointments by triple dialing the same person. I would never do that. I know people who create sales and generate connection through direct mail. I know people who do it. I love to go old school, and I believe sending actual physical tangible things matter. I think creating experience matters, but in terms of what doesn't work, I believe that anything that is not congruent with who you are, it doesn't work because you won't stick to it. You'll stop it. It won't be a habit. It won't feel good. And if it doesn't feel like you're doing something that's congruent with who you are, if it doesn't feel like it's something that's giving and blessing and serving and loving other people, and if it's not in alignment with your current resources, materials, or giftings, then you will probably find a reason to stop doing it, and it won't work.
What are some books that every aspiring marketer should read?
You've got to start with Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I really love This is Marketing and the Practice by Seth Godin. Made to Stick by, I can't remember the two brothers that wrote that one. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Those are some good books to start with.
So I'm going to take a bit of a non-traditional approach here. This is not a marketing book. It's a strategy book. And I think it's a big piece that most marketers ignore. Strategy is one of the most important things with business. The books are Playing to Win, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy is the second book, and a new one, relatively new, by April Dunford, Obviously Awesome. So those are three books on strategy. It's all about defining where you're going to play, what category, what market, and how are you going to win there. If you don't have a good strategy, it's very difficult to market your product or your solution. So you need to, as a marketer, be connected with strategy, understand the strategy. It'll make your job so much easier when you're talking about positioning, messaging, marketing, everything around that. So learn strategy, become an expert on it. You can help your team with it too.
Okay. If you're an aspiring marketer and you are looking for books, which I would highly recommend, I'm going to give you 5 that I think will give you a well-rounded understanding of marketing and really set a good foundation, whether or not you're a beginning marketer or somebody that's been in marketing for a decade. So number 1, Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout, Founder Brand by Dave Gearhart, Influence by Robert Cialdini, Originals by Adam Grant, and Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim, and I'm going to butcher this last name, but Renee Moborg. Those 5 talk about marketing in sort of a big bucket perspective that I think will really drive some key points home while not really going into specialized functions of marketing. And so I think by reading those 5 books, you're really setting yourself up for success.
So the 2 books I'd recommend is Jobs to Be Done by Jim Kalbach It gives a framework for understanding the customer through a lens of the jobs they're trying to achieve. It's been around for a while, and it really gives you a different way of looking at customers' needs and problems and how brands go to market. So that's probably the first. I would say for the second, it's hard because I've read a lot of good books this year, but I would say Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, and I actually have to look up the author. It has been really illuminating to look at strategy in almost in a systematized way. The author speaks about the idea of strategy being a kernel, and so there's actually like an underlying philosophy you can use to apply to whatever work it is that you're doing. You know, it could be digital, it could be content, but do it in the lens of good strategy. And so probably two of my favorite reads this year.
What is one thing that you do today that isn't widely adopted or known, but that you're absolutely convinced is worth doing?
I think the biggest thing that I do in my role is I talk to everybody. And it's not just on LinkedIn. It's not the Zooms that we have. It's people on the street. It's my neighbors. It's young. It's old. Anybody I can talk to, I do it. Why? Because it gives you a perspective on life and a different lens on experiences, which is imperative, I think, to move yourself forward personally and your business forward professionally. Some of the things I've learned from talking to people in other industries that I would have never had a chance to if I would have stayed in my own echo chambers has transformed the way that I think, really, right? Like I'm blessed to have a big network of people that not only that I care about, but you know, people that I've met and I've stayed in touch with. I would implore anybody really looking to expand themselves and expand their mindset to do so, because the benefits that it can bring to business are next level.
I take inspired action, and I give myself credit every single day that I take an inspired action. I move a marble from the container out into the open, onto another container to where I can see it. I track my habits. I string together habits of inspired action. And by doing that, I'm doing something that feels simple. I feel excited and invigorated to do. And it's something that I can do within 5 to 10 minutes that's going to impact and have influence on me, at least inching towards something that I want in life. Inspired action.
So this is something that's known. We all know we should do it. Not all of us do. Many of us don't. We kind of ignore it, put it to the back seat. And that's actually talking to your customers, having those feedback loops in place. We're working on operationalizing this at Hatchworks too. But it's a big piece. You got to talk to your customers. That's one of the superpowers for marketing. If you actually talk to your customers, understand how they think, what they need, what are their problems, what are their pain points, what are their desires, what opportunities exist for them. That's powerful. That makes your job so much easier. So talk to customers, and don't just go and talk to customers once and forget about it. Operationalize it into your business. Figure out these points in the customer's life cycle, whether it's when they first become a customer, when they're churning or leaving you, or maybe some other milestones that take place. What are those points where you can talk to a customer and get some insights?
Corporate content is dead. Your audience wants to consume content created by people and not a voiceless corporation. So I think the opportunity lies in humanizing the people behind the brand with your content. That can take on a lot of shapes and sizes. So let me explain. First of all, one of the things that we try to do at Lasso is really try to pull back the curtain on everything that we're doing. So, and that includes all of the different departments and teams that we have. So from a leadership team perspective, how can they visibly share what they're seeing, doing, hearing, right? Those executives need to personally brand themselves and put themselves out there and make themselves accessible. Studies show that there is a trust factor that is included when founders and C-suite employees really become involved in talking about things that exist within the industry and are open to hearing that feedback back. So that can obviously take shape in social media format. Marketing. What are they doing externally campaign related, right? How can we shine some light on some of those things outside of the typical format of promoting it via social or an email campaign, right? So talking about those campaigns and those initiatives openly while we're building them, while they're going on after the fact. Sales, right? The pain points or the common problems or the empathy that is involved in anything that they see and bringing light and visibility into those things. customer success, the transformative stories that they hear and can talk about, how they're helping, how they influence the customer relationship with the product, right? Those are all opportunities. Product, pulling back the curtain on, what's coming, what does the roadmap look like? How can they build the hype? How are we opening ourselves up to receiving feedback from our customers to make sure that we're implementing what they want? So all across the board, you've got so much opportunity to really, humanize that process. Second way that we do that here is really by co-creating content, right? So not creating content in a bubble, but instead doing it with our customers or our ICPs, right? So if it's a live session or a webinar, having a customer or somebody that is an ICP co-host or even host that initiative, and not it be something that is Lasso focused or product focused, but really talking about the commonalities, the pain problems that people see, where they get stuck, right? And having some ability to show light on some of the private conversations that are taking place and making them public. And then the last way that I think that we do that is really by leveraging, the unique people that we have here at Lasso to create content. So if we are doing FAQs, maybe we've got somebody in that particular department that can answer those FAQs on video instead of just putting a big collapsible accordion together with 10 FAQs that no one's going to read, right? Same with customer support. Can we add some humor or some life to somebody landing on the customer support page? What about, anything visually that we do? So on our crew side, they go through a 5-step registration process. So first of all, we need to educate crew what that process looks like, right? What the different steps are. What better way to do that than have our people in that department really get on video and break down each of those steps, right? So maybe it's a chance that if there are 5 steps, we identify 5 people on that team and they each sort of talk through each step, because that is not only going to be more relatable, but it's going to build credibility and personalization with your audience. So those are just some of the ways that I think about, in terms of things that companies aren't really widely adopting yet, but will absolutely make you stand apart from the rest.
Thank you so much for taking the time to answer those questions, guys. Such an amazing group of individuals who are all doing incredibly well professionally and also just great people personally. Really appreciate the time that you took to help everybody out here. Everyone make sure you give them a follow on their various social platforms. I'll be sure to link them below. If you guys have other questions that you'd like to ask these guys, or if there are anyone else that you would like to have on this roundtable discussion, let me know who that would be and what other questions you would like to ask. We'll be sure to add them next time. Thanks so much. Take care.